If you're not moving forward in life, you're moving backwards. This is Ace and Jamie, and this is Breakpoint Podcast.
Our goal is to create and deliver content that evokes a change of spirit and heart, seeking out messages that will relate and inspire.
Stories and experiences of people and their breakpoint in life.
Little rough around the edges, completely unhinged, and wildly compassionate.
We bring you Breakpoint Podcast. On today's show, we have Adele Bellis, who is an acid attack survivor. Acid attacks happen across the world, and it affects women disproportionately. Although it is also unacceptable when acid violence occurs against men, acid violence is a form of violence that has an impact on women. It reflects and perpetuates discrimination of women and girls in society. As such, it's prohibited by the international law. However, all too often, its crimes go unpunished and unreported. Survivors of acid attacks live in fear of reprisals for reporting the attack. In London alone, there were over 1,200 cases that were recorded over the last 5 years and over 1,464 crimes involving some sort of acid or corrosive substance. 1,500 cases reported against women every year in acid attacks, and less than 25% of them reported. It's been 6 years since Adele Bellis from the UK lost an ear and was scarred for life in a horrendous acid attack ordered by her ex-boyfriend. The man who threw the acid is now free after serving just 2 years behind bars. Since then, she's become an advocate for fighting against acid attacks by getting the word out by writing her best-selling book and becoming a best-selling author called Brave: How I Rebuilt My Life After Love Turned to Hate. Guys, on this show, we have Adele Bellis. So why don't we get kicked off? Maybe why don't you give a quick backstory on just, kind of what happened? What happened? What's the story? What got you to the point where this horrific crime happened to you?
I was 16 when I first met my partner, Anthony. And yeah, it was all right. It was exciting. He was older. He hung around my brother, which I kind of liked the naughtiness. We started meeting in secret. And I was 16, so it was like my first proper relationship, and I didn't see the signs. And as it went on and on, I kind of realised the signs. He got controlling, didn't want me to have Facebook, didn't want me to see my friends, loads of little stuff, all the mental abuse which I wasn't aware of. When I was 16, I used to think domestic abuse was just a black eye and physical. That was kind of how I thought of it. So it was all the mental abuse. It was on and off. I went and worked on the cruise ships in America to get away from him, done 9 months. As soon as I'd get home, he'd see me, and it was kind of like, I don't know, he had this hold over me, which I automatically done what he said because I was scared. It was 2014 when I weren't with him. I'd not been with him for some time. I think I'd gone on a cruise ship, come back, and not got back with him this time. I met him at the gym. I didn't meet him. I was going to this gym, and I just saw his eyes look at me, and it was just like I used to get a sick feeling. It was then when it kind of started in 2014 when the police kind of called it a 6-month campaign, and it was basically a hate campaign on me. As soon as he'd realised where I'd worked at Ho Seasons, from going to the gym, I started getting flowers sent to the gym, and I used to feel sick. Everyone in the office was cooing over him, who's getting all these flowers? And I used to think, oh my God, I've kind of got myself back in that scenario again. Didn't really want to go into too much detail because obviously people can buy the book, but that leading up to the acid attack, I had revenge porn, so it was stuff that he made me film when I was younger. He put it all on Facebook. Wow. He beat me up, locked me in a house, paid someone to stab me, and throughout it all.
What? So all this is happening. I mean, how? I mean, that the everyday person could say, well, why didn't she just leave? What was stopping you from leaving?
Yeah, and that's what I say to myself. But it's the feeling of the hold. Like that went on for so long. Like when I went to the house we used to live at to say, stop sending me flowers, like I don't want nothing to do with you. That night he locked me in the house, beat me up, and said, if you go to the police, I will kill you. And that was the thing. He was so evil. I couldn't find a way out. I felt it was better to be on his side, do exactly what he said, rather than have these fears of I knew he would kill me. He was quite capable of killing me, and I believed it. And the thing that he used to use, which I'd always go to him, would be, if you don't meet me, I'll come to your parents' house. And I'd never want any crap at my parents' house, so I'd always go meet him because I didn't want him to bring it to my house and to become a whole stress. You know, my parents hated him, and majority of the time it was in secret. I'd have to meet him because he'd basically be forcing me. And people say, well, he didn't force you. It was the threat. How fearful I was of him. I had to do everything he said. Now, when I got stabbed,
was any of your family, you know, when you said that, you know, he posted pornographic pictures or videos up on like the internet, did anybody reach out to you? Like, what the heck is going on right now? The friends, family, were you keeping this all a secret from them, or were you embarrassed? Or?
Like I went to the police. I had an injunction order. I had a harassment charge, and I'm not like dissing the police at all. Like it's progressed since then. You know, now there's a charge for revenge porn. At that time there weren't a charge. All then he'd get done his harassment and give it a week, and then he's back ringing me constantly. If you don't answer, I'll come to your house. I'm gonna kill you. One point he said, I don't know whether to slit your mum and dad's throats or kill you. Probably be better to do it to your mum and dad, so you'd have to live with the fact that what you've done, what you've caused. And like, I was only young, I was 16, I was fearful. Sure. And obviously everything he done, I didn't act how he wanted. So like, obviously the revenge porn, he put that on there because he'd paid someone to stab me. And after I got stabbed, all right, it was a big issue, but I kind of like brushed it off, went back to work, I went out with my friends. I got stabbed here.
So they basically slit your face with like a razor was what it was, or?
Yeah. I mean, it was really deep. I was really lucky, but because he wanted to ruin my face. He didn't want anyone to have me. So from there, because he saw me out one night, a few weeks after, probably about a month or so after, I'd gone out and he'd seen me. So because that angered him, that it didn't stop me from living my life, he then put these revenge porn things on. I went to the police. Obviously, I had an injunction order against them anyway. I'm not saying they didn't do anything. I hope what happened to me makes them obviously do more, but it was a vicious circle. I'd go to the police and they wouldn't do anything. And I had him in one ear giving me, I was so scared, and the police kind of not doing anything, just give him harassment order, which a week later.
How'd that make you feel? I mean, you're going to the police for help. The only people who probably you think can help you, and they're just saying, yeah, here's a piece of paper, throw it at him the next time he shows up. I mean, where does that kind of leave you? Yeah, you know?
Yeah.
That's a terrible situation for anybody to be in.
Yeah, and obviously I think because I was so young, I was like naive as well. I thought he loved me, you know. He'd say, I love you, you know, and I believed he loved me, but I was really gullible to think, you know, I was oblivious. I think in my gut feeling, I knew what he was doing to me, but I didn't want to believe it. I was in denial. And then obviously the last thing was the acid attack, which was August. And it was just obviously random. Hadn't seen him for about 3 months since the stab attack. Because with the stab, the police thought it was him, but he'd paid some off the street. So then the police thought it was just an unprovoked attack. He was very smart. So the police thought it was an unprovoked attack, that I was just walking by.
Well, before we get to the acid attack, I want to, as far as like the events and the way this happened, I know you were saying you this all started when you were 16, and the acid attack didn't happen until a little ways down the road, right? So this was over the course of some time, correct?
Yeah, I was 22 when I got attacked with acid, and I was 16 when I met him. But obviously, in between that time, I went on a cruise ship for 9 months. I went on another cruise ship, another 9 months. So it was very on and off, but it was just the hold he had. As soon as he'd know I was home, it's so hard to describe it, because like so many people obviously message me about domestic abuse and they understand, but for someone that haven't been through it, the police called him the walking demon, because he was just so, the police hated him. He was so known to the police, and I think the police didn't know what to do with him because they were just as scared as well. Like, he had a reputation and he was just awful. And I say, once I got in it, I was just finding the way to get out. Like, he went to prison for a short stint when I first met him, like a few months, and I was getting letters through the post. He had a mobile. He was ringing me up saying, my dad will take you to prison. And I was only 16. I was like, I don't want this life. I don't want a jail person. I'm young. I don't want to do all that, just try to split up with him. And I tried to split up with him just then. And just him being in prison, all the hold he had on me, I weren't allowed to prison because I weren't 18. So he'd make his dad go and just all that. And it was just, even at that point, I didn't know a way out. I was already kind of stuck in there.
He was constantly threatening you, right? And more of it was physical and psychological abuse, obviously, where I'm sure it was.
And the thing he didn't really threaten me as much. Like, it's threatened to kill me, but it's only after stuff he'd done to me. But the more threats he done was against my family, so I kind of felt that I was protecting them by carrying on, just doing what he said, because I didn't want any harm to come to them.
But was there ever a point in time where you actually loved him before it kind of turned and went bad, or was that kind of never there?
I mean, at the first I did, but I don't think it was him as such. I think it was, I like the fact I had a boyfriend. I like the fact that we done normal things. Like, now I can oversee it all and just think, for the last year or so, I hated him. I absolutely hated him, but I felt stuck that I had to be with someone like that. I had to do what he said because it was better to be on his good side than his bad side.
Wow. And how old were you when he, because obviously it progressively got worse, the abuse.
Yeah.
How old were you when he locked you in the house and you say that? How old were you when that happened? Was that when you were 18 or?
No, I was, this was shortly before the acid attack. This was the year of the acid attack. This was in March. Sending me flowers to work every day for a week, and I was just like, what the hell? Like, what? Like, I just felt the sick feeling of, here it go again. Like, he's for, everyone was cooing over the flowers, like, oh my god, like, and I was just like, no, like, I didn't want him. I just didn't want him to be in my life anymore. And so I was stupid, but I went to the house and just gave him back to him and said, just stop it. I don't want you. In this time, he'd had a relationship. He had a little girl. He had a little boy. Like, I just said, like, you've got your life now. Like, I don't want nothing to do with you. And that was then. He locked the doors, and the only reason he let me out is because he thought the police had turned up.
You locked you in the house. Were you like locked in a closet or?
Oh no, I was locked in like the dining room. So the back door was locked, the front door was locked. He smashed my phone up. He was just drinking neat vodka in front of me, saying I'd ruined his life and all this. Chucking all the photo frames everywhere. He just punched me, and I remember just slouching down to the wall. But then he'd go get peas for my eye, and as soon as I got out there, I think I was just so thankful, because all I could see was the knives, and I thought he told me I weren't getting out alive, and that I just like go away on the cruise ships and come back and ruin his life. But it was only because he'd see me that I was home that it used to irritate him, I never used to do anything. And then with the black eye, my best friend, she her partner worked offshore, so when I had the black eye, I ran to my best mates and stayed at it weren't not normal for my parents to be like, oh, I'm staying at Amy's. So I stayed at Amy's, so I didn't go to work, and so I could hide the black eye. And obviously my parents didn't. That's how I used to keep it all. I used to keep so much from them. They didn't know half of it. It was just was trying to protect him, because I knew if I tell him, we'd go to the police, and I'd already tried that, and the police wouldn't do anything, and I just felt there was no way out. Like,
you know, people really need to go pick up your book, because the extent of where you were over the 6 or 7 years you were with him, it sounds pretty horrific. You know, it's almost like you were in like this psychological like cage, right? Where I can only imagine even going to sleep and waking up and then still being with him has to be a crazy situation for anybody to be in.
Yeah, and I think the mental abuse, that was something at that age I weren't aware of. I didn't really know the signs or anything like that. And obviously now looking, it's just crazy just how much mental abuse he gave me. And it weren't until it was more mental. I'd say 90% of that relationship was mental. I mean, all the stuff, all the physical stuff obviously are extreme, but I'd say more mental.
So he was always up talking down to you, being condescending, and basically just always making you feel like you were nothing.
Like if we'd argue, he'd smash my hairdryer up, or straighteners, or makeup. He knew how to get, like, you know, something like a girl like, you know, and there's just so much.
As far as, you know, the build up to this, obviously you being locked in the house, someone cutting your face. Now the person who cut your face is not the same person who did the acid attack, right?
No.
Up into the actual acid attack, where were you in your relationship with him at this point in time? Did you just tell him, hey, it's over, we're done, I'm leaving you, or what led up to that point?
So from April, when I got stabbed and the revenge porn happened, I didn't speak to him. I didn't speak to him. I think that kind of scared him enough to leave me alone, thinking like he'd done the revenge porn and obviously paid someone, which weren't obviously, that hadn't come about at that point. So he left me alone. It wasn't up until the day before I got attacked with acid, he messaged me and said, come and meet me. And then my parents were on holiday, so I replied and said, no way, like fuck off, basically. Like I just said, I ain't scared of you. I said, all your little mates, they're not your real mates, they're just scared of you, like you're an awful person. And I've never kind of opened up like that to him before. I'd always been too scared, but I thought all the threats he used to give is, I'll come into your parents' house, I'm going to do something to your parents. My parents were away, so I just thought, come here, I'll ring the police. But like I hadn't got to protect anyone, it was only me, you know. And he kept saying, come meet me, and I was like, no. And the more I said no, he said that was obviously getting him agitated. I said no, and then he said, I'll come to your house. And I said, come to my house, I'll ring the police, like I ain't scared of you anymore, Anthony. And his last message was he got angry, but he called me Scarface, and I thought that was about the stab. But then at 8:30 the next day, it was obviously I had acid chucked over me.
Almost forewarning you of something that was about to happen the next day, which is nuts. Explain the scenario. And I've kind of heard the story before, but for people who are hearing it for the first time, you're going to work with one of your girlfriends, right? Can you walk us through that day and what exactly happened?
Yeah, so basically this particular day I was going out after work for drinks. So then I was going to walk to work. So I, like a normal day, got up, whatever, and then started walking to the bus stop. As I got to the bus stop, there was 2 elderly people there. So I kind of thought, they know the time, I'll just wait and get a bus. I was on the phone to my friend at the time. And yeah, I remember sitting in the bus stop, and on the phone, just chatting like as you do, and this man come like round the road, and he had a black tracksuit on, and he had like a scarf here, and I remember feeling wary because he looked at me and he was shaking like a bottle, and when he walked past me, I remember turning in like that, like just still talking but going in like that. And then because he'd passed me, I'd never thought, like you never, you know, I didn't turn around to see where he's gone. To me, he'd just gone. So I was still on the phone, and to this day I don't know why, but something in my head told me to move. And as I moved, he'd come from the back of me and chucked acid. So chucked acid. Oh,
Wow.
so my hand got the brunt of it, and my arm got the brunt of it because I was like this, and I'd move like that. And yeah, other than that, it kind of went into shock, really. I remember like playing chicken in the road. Like, this is 8:30 in the morning on the main road to the town. So like there was so much traffic, and I was just running in and out. I just found like if I started running, then it wouldn't hurt as much. And if I'd stop, I just felt like I was melting to the ground. Yeah, my body just went into shock, really. Like, yeah, like I was just running. And then I was screaming for water, and as someone come out with like a gravy jug or like just a jug full, but because so they chucked it over me, and that just went up smoke in my head, and it kind of started the reaction again. It weren't enough water to stop it. It kind of just started it again. Then I'd start running, and yeah, after that it was just a bit of a blur. I was due to go to South Africa a month later to stay with a ship friend, which I'd just booked. And I remember I had all hairy legs and everything, and the paramedic was taking all the jeans off, and like that was my only worry, because I think it was just a blur. I weren't sure what had happened. I was just like, oh my god, my legs are hairy, and he was like, we need to get all your clothes off. But I'm going on holiday next month, and yeah, and from there I kind of went into hospital, and basically all the acid that was burning, but obviously all the parts that it didn't burn, I was shivering because they had to use cold water.
That is some story. I mean, hearing it firsthand, you telling it, I can only, we can only imagine, right? Because we have no idea what that would feel like.
Yeah, but like still today I can't describe it. Like, there's just no word to describe it. Even the smell of it, I can smell it now. If someone says about it, I can get the smell of the acid, but it's a smell that I can't describe.
So someone stopped in their car and gave you a bottle of water in the middle of all this?
Someone ran out of the house. But there was cars stopping, and yeah, it was just like, I didn't really know. Sounds really bad, but I wish I could have took it more in, like, because it was such a blur. I wish I could actually, I don't know, not someone filmed it, but like there's so many emotions, so much happening that it was just such a blur.
Have you always been this positive, or or you can just look back on it now and kind of laugh a little bit about it, or kind of think like, because you seem like it's like the way you're explaining it, obviously it was a very impactful and tragic time in your life, but you know, have you always had such a good outlook?
Yeah, I think that's what has kept me going. I think if I didn't have an outlook like that, then I probably didn't know where I'd be in my life right now. I think what gave me the fight was because he'd done so much years. It was more relief that I knew he was in prison. I knew that he'd get a long time, and it was kind of more even though this had all happened, I don't know, I just was in hospital, and I just felt relieved that I didn't know it was finally over, because obviously I had all this to do, but that was just my motivation of, I am going to win. He's ruined my life for so many years. He's always controlled me, and I'm going to make sure that whatever is done won't affect me how he wants it. And that was kind of my head throughout it all. Even crying, that's not a weakness, but if I was in my hospital bed sobbing, I'd just then be like, this is what he wants. I'm not going to do what he wants. This is how he wants me to do. Wow. So that's how I got kind of the positive mind. I mean, I have my bad days. Like, I was talking just now to my friend, her next door neighbour, and I had my hairpiece on, and I was like, oh, I need to take my hairpiece off. And she didn't even know it was a hairpiece. And I said, oh, yeah, this is like 6 years hair growth. She was like, what? Like, oh my God, I don't know what I'd do if I got my head shaved. And I was like, do you know what? That was the worst day of my life. I know I got attacked with acid that day, but that was the worst thing what I can remember, when he said, this hair's got all bits of acid in, like, we need to shave your whole head. And as a girl, and at that point, 22, I'd been growing my hair for my brother's wedding. I'd had my highlights done like the week before, and that was the worst thing when they said to me, it was 11:30 at night, I'd got attacked at 8:30 in the morning. It got to 11:30, they said, look, there's still bits of acid all on your hair, we need to shave it all. And obviously then this bit never grew back, and then obviously this is my hair now. I hadn't touched it now. But
what an optimistic perspective on things. And that's awesome. You're like, you just got acid poured on you. You're like, I'm worried about my head getting shaved off.
Yeah, but that was just how my body was in shock. You know, I didn't even look at my face. As soon as I got to hospital, my friend come in the ambulance with me, because obviously my parents were on holiday in Turkey. Everyone was trying to get hold of them. I've got 2 older brothers, so that like they was on the scene, like the head people. But my friend come in ambulance because my brother had to go home, get the dog, put the dog somewhere, because I was going to hospital, which was 3 hours away from where I lived, because I got transferred from our local one to the burns unit. My best friend come in, and as soon as I went in the room, she just ripped the mirror off the hospital room, because I was like, I don't want to look in. And it took me ages to look in the mirror. Like, it took me, they wouldn't let me go until I looked in the mirror with a psychotherapist.
How was the recovery and the first time you did look at yourself and you were like, wow, like how did that impact you, or what did you think the first time you saw yourself?
I didn't look in for like 8 weeks. And they kept saying, come on, look in. And I was just like, no, do all your work. I just want to see the end result. I mean, I knew I'd had pictures taken and stuff like that. But I was scared. I was so scared. I mean, when I had the bandage, I knew that like my bandage come around here, like it went in my eye, but they managed to dilute my eye. But my first initial thoughts was I was actually quite positive. It was just like, because I'd had visions of I'd had it all over my face, and it wasn't that. But I was just kind of blessed that they thought they thought they needed to rebuild my nose because of all the acid. But it didn't. They got to it before it actually like melted it away. So, like, because I was there and they was kind of being so positive, saying, oh, you know, your eye's fine, like your nose. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think because I had such the burden of being in that relationship, I felt so relieved. It was just like, I was so relieved I was out of there. I knew that whatever happened to me and my parents, I would be, in my head, it was like, I'll be okay, because if I weren't, he would have won. So, you know, the human body is just marvelous. I mean, this is from my thigh, like all my skin grafts from my legs, and yeah, it's just, I don't know, like just looking back now 6 years on, all, you know, how thick my scars were. Like I had to wear a plastic mask for 18 months. Like that was hell, you know, in summer, and it was just hot. I'd wear a pressure garment up till here. I'd have to massage every 3 times a day, constantly massage to keep the skin full. I went to France to a burns rehab centre, a private burns rehab centre, and that was just constant for a month, every day, 8 till 6, just constant different therapy. Before I went there, I couldn't even move my neck because this scar was so tight, I just couldn't even move it. But then I come home and I could move it, and yeah, it's just, there's just so much, like just my hand. I couldn't move my hand, and now I can move my hand because it was just, the scars was just so tight.
Amazing job. I mean, honestly, from the pictures that I seen when it originally happened to where you are today, I feel like your nose and the whole front of your face looks amazing compared to the past. I feel like you're just as beautiful as you were prior.
Yeah.
Besides the hair, everything looks like you look amazing. You did such a great job.
And I mean, you can't even see my skin graft to this skin. Like, it's gone that flat, but it's taken, you know, loads of work. I've met acid survivors that had not done anything, and this, you know, the state of their scars to mine makes me feel so much better that I was so strict on myself. You know, even days where I'd be like, I don't want it, my mum would force me and be like, put your mask on, Adele, like, even though it'd be awful and I just wanted a breather, she was like, just put it on, and the difference, what it's done, is just amazing.
How many surgeries did you need to go through, Adele? Do you know?
I can't remember. I just had one just last year, so it is still ongoing, 6 years on.
Wow.
I have a lot of trouble with this neck that tightens up over time. I've got a really thick band here, so every few years I'll have to get that split a bit just to release it. But that's probably my main issue, my neck area. You don't realise how much movement you need, and it's just so tight, even here. As for my ear, I don't really know. My surgeon wants so much for me, but I've got to the stage where, do you know what, I can't be bothered. I'm like past all the recovery now. I was never one to have my hair up anyway. I was always used to have my hair down, even as a kid.
Can you get ear out of that?
Yeah.
Ear, Adele, or?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
awesome.
So like that in hospital, that was just another positive, you know. My eye, that went in my eye. They managed to fix it. Then my nose, I was worried they needed to redo my nose, and then obviously my ear burnt off, but I can hear fine. So it was just like, although it was so bad and such an awful thing, I just clung on to the positives, and that kind of got me through it.
Questions for you, Adele. The man who initially did this. Now I don't know if I'm quoting you correctly. I think I heard you might have mentioned that you felt sorry for him in some way, shape, or form, or was that because he was threatened?
Yeah. He was just a nobody. Just a no one. His mum was poorly. I think she was disabled. He kind of had to be a carer at a very young age. Hadn't really had kind of, not a nice, but just a kind of basic life, caring for his mum. He used to be bullied at school. He was a bit of a nobody, basically. And Anthony used his vulnerability, bullied him. And it was actually from April that the acid attack he started planning the acid attack. So he was just on and on and on at this guy up until August. The guy threw the acid away twice. He used to beat the guy up. Just awful stuff, you know. And the day before, when he was obviously messaging me, because this guy could get to me, I'd always be too quick going into work, coming out of work, getting out of my car, going in the house. And that's why Anthony messaged me the night before, because he was getting frustrated. He wanted to obviously set me up to meet him. And yeah, so the guy done it. Obviously, he's still done it, and I hate him for it. But there was part of me that just felt he was a victim, like I was, of Anthony. Anthony used his vulnerableness, and the night before, he said, "If you don't do it, then I'll get someone to do it to your mum." And obviously, that's obviously people want to protect their family, like I did, and that's why he done it to me.
2 years and getting out, has in the UK has the crime increased? I shouldn't say the crime, the sentencing for acid attacks, has it changed at all? Because I know it would be worse or easy if you stabbed or shot somebody. The sentencing is way worse, so it's almost easier to pour acid on someone. As far as
I have really checked recently in the sentencing. It's still very low, and I can't understand it. I mean, I'm scarred for life. I've got to live with this for the rest of my life. And he got 2 years. What is 2 years? I still weren't even finished my recovery. I still aren't today, 6 years on, and he's out there now. Got a new life. He got a new identity because he feared for his life, which is all right, fair enough. He's now got witness protection. No one knows what he's done, and he's like 29, so he's got a life.
And that's terrible in itself. The fact that they're not doing anything about it, and I feel like it's across the board with many countries. In fact, I was just on a website. If anybody wants to check out the Acid Survivors Trust International website, they have some really horrifying statistics on there with across the board how many countries aren't really doing anything about it, which is kind of nuts to me. I don't know if they're waiting for a certain amount of people, or maybe someone in a presidency or in the Senate or someone in the higher ups needs to get attacked before they do something. But it's very unfortunate seeing a lot of these cases because, like you said, there are some people who have it poured directly on their face, and
Oh yeah.
pretty horrific to lose sight. And
Yeah.
it is rough. And hopefully this episode is drawing some attention to that. And we're going to put a bunch of links down below where people can get some more information on these type of attacks. And they can get more educated on it. But now, obviously, you wrote the book. How'd that come about? Was that you just decided one day, like, hey, listen, I need to get the word out there with what's going on? Did someone encourage you? How'd that come about?
I'm not sure if you know the Katie Piper in the States. She was an acid attack survivor. Basically, a similar story to myself, but she was 5 years before me. So she was kind of the well-known and the only person I've heard of that's got attacked with acid. She set up a website and a foundation for burn survivors because obviously she realised herself there was nothing out there for burns and like rehab. So that was kind of how I met her, and she supported me throughout my whole journey, whether it be in she phoned me the day I had to give evidence saying, you know, come on, you've got to do it. This is where we get justice. My parents, they were struggling, so they met her parents because they'd been through it. So throughout my journey, she's helped me, and it was her that put me in contact to France where she'd been. And it was there where she said that she wrote her book and that I should write a book. So I kind of thought, really, like, I can't write a book. But I had a lot of materials that I could use. I wrote a diary after I got attacked to kind of say how I was feeling. So I had all them emotions that I could put back to in a book. And yeah, then I got offered. So when I got back from France, I kind of didn't really think much about it. But then I got approached by one, and it was kind of like, right, okay. I've got this story. I was both ending an acid attack, but I had so much before that I wanted it to be about domestic abuse and kind of how it progresses and different kind of sides of it. You know, what I didn't know when I was 16 and I was 22, and I just thought, you know what, I want the younger generation to be able to be educated and, you know, have awareness of domestic abuse and just the first couple of signs. And my biggest thing is what I'd say to them is if you get a gut instinct, then you need to leave, you know. So many people message me and say, oh, this has happened, is this domestic abuse? I'm thinking, well, you're messaging me, you know, that says something. You've got a feeling, you know, you need to leave now.
Two final questions for you, Adele. Speaking to all the women out there right now that might be in a domestic violence type relationship, what's your recommendation to them? You know, maybe you're speaking to yourself maybe 5 years ago or 6 years ago. What's your message for them?
It is really hard, and I think the fear just overcomes it all. That you just need to get out, help. You need to get out, and you know, I want people to look at my scars, look what I've been through as a person, and I just, you know, they need to get out. So it gets worse, and I mean, that just gets worse. So if you stay, the longer you stay, the longer the harder it gets. So again, if anyone has a gut instinct that think that that's wrong or that is controlling or anything, like, you need to leave, because the more that you put up with it, the more that they'll get worse.
Where does Adele go from here as far as the next 2 to 5 years? What does Adele's life look like?
I'm quite simple, you know. I just want the easy life now. I just want drama free, and I just want to get the house, the husband, the babies. I just want a kind of a normal, quiet, drama free life. I just listen to my friends' dramas with their partners, and that oh God, they're annoying me and stuff like that. Like, I'd rather hear other people's dramas than myself now.
Well, that's awesome, Adele. Adele, I want to thank you for being on the show. We're going to put a link down below for her book, Brave. Please pick it up, as well as everything else that we discussed, so you guys can get educated on what's going on, domestic abuse, Acid Attack International. We really want to help people get educated and maybe join the cause in any way that they can to help out. And all the way from the UK, Adele, thanks for being on the show. We will hopefully touch base in a year or two. Keep up with your story. Absolutely. You have a good one. Until the next episode, guys.